The Thaumaturge. Bro, what the f was that? There's this moment when you start playing this game where everything just clicks. The screen fades in and you are there in 1905 Warsaw with your fancy mustache and a trench coat that has got to be one of the sweatiest pieces of clothing to go for given the circumstances. The city is smoky in all the right places. Politically, it's more tense than the US of A is at this moment in time. On top of just dripping with mysticism and sweat, more likely, because come on broski, that trench coat can't be a practical choice. And for a second, you might think to yourself, man, this could be something special. The whispering promises of demons and sin make you want to believe this game is about to take flight and be something super memorable. But then you kind of realize this game is like a plane on a runway. It's always preparing to take off, but it never really does. So subscribe if you're new and let's get into this casual gamer's critique of the Thaumaturge. Playing this game is kind of like watching the chickens from the hit movie Chicken Run trying to fly. You root for them naturally because you see the wild determination in their eyes. You almost convince yourself that it's going to happen eventually. But no matter how high they jump or how hard they flap their freaking cute wings, at the end of the day, they are still chicken. And chickens don't fly, simply put. Unless you build a plane out of scrap and jump the fence, but that's spoiling the hit movie Chicken Run now, and that's not what this video is all about. From the off, the premise had me super intrigued in this game, of course, as you play as Victor Shulsky, who's a thaumaturge, which is kind of like a spiritual fixer, but instead of tarot cards and reading rocks, he uses demons and his fisticuffs and a gun. Bro, Victor is a violent man. The idea of these demons, who are called salutors by the way, are tied to guilt, pride, fear, and other sin, and the premise is just rich with possibility. Layer on top of that an occupied Warsaw filled with unrest, folklore, and fractured identities, and you have something that looks like it should maybe be made into a TV series as well. And for a while, it kind of hits that potential perfectly. The first few hours just ooze with atmosphere and intrigue. The lighting is moody, the voice acting is solid. The choices have weight to them as well. It makes a strong first impression, if anything. You get just enough lore to get excited. You meet characters who hint at deeper conflicts and catch glimpses of a world that feels built with purpose. But then that purpose kind of just stops showing up. The game starts to drag its feet narratively speaking, of course, but maybe also literally, because I bet it's tough to run around in the mud with those boots on and that freaking sweaty ass trench coat. Like, come on. Anyway, dialogue starts to stretch as well without any real payoff. Side characters appear and vanish with barely a ripple. There is a moment where you think you are stepping into a sprawling character-driven mystery, but instead you find yourself jogging between quest markers, like a very stylish errand boy. I mean, stupid with that dumb trench coat. God, look. Victor is kind of cool. He's stylish with his mustache, his haircut, and that trench coat. That damn trench coat. But my point is here that you do a lot of jogging in the mud. A lot. And yet, despite all of this complaining that I'm pretty much doing, I still kept going. It always felt like, you know those cliffhangers at the end of each episode of a TV series where you think to yourself, okay, now something's finally gonna happen. And then you get to the next episode or the next scene or the next area or the next salutor in this case, hoping that any second now the pieces will start to click and you're just stuck there waiting. Which brings me on to the salutor system, which is hands down one of the strongest parts of this game. It's a hit and a miss, because man, I do wish there was more of it as well. You get that pun? Miss. It's a hit and a miss. I miss the... God damn it. Subscribe. You can summon these demons tied to your inner world of sins, who have their own dialogue options, and they can unlock different ways to manipulate people, but also lend you their powers in battle. And some of those moments are genuinely memorable. Using a salutor to expose someone's hidden guilt and then in turn rage bait them into a reaction is awesome, and it does have weight, but it never quite goes far enough, unfortunately. You get a few cool scenes, yes, you unlock a few new abilities, and it kind of plateaus. Again, instead of expanding or shifting based on your choices, the system settles into this weird, very familiar loop, one that leaves you craving more, which is a running theme with this game. But here it hit a bit harder, because like I said, the whole salutor system is super cool, and I miss having more of it. Man, miss, come on, that's a good joke. Combat follows the same path, unfortunately, in which I mean that it starts with promise as you assign different salutors, use turn-based combos, and stack status effects on top of one another. The animations have flair, and the turn-based systems look artsy-fartsy as hell. Like that damn coat that Victor is wearing, man. I cannot get over that coat. The mechanics are sharp enough to feel satisfying, but they never really grow. It becomes a rhythm game of identifying weaknesses and repeating patterns just after a few hours hours into the game. The salutor combinations don't deepen like you'd hope they would. There are like 8 salutors I think altogether in the game, but the ones you get by just playing normally will do the job just fine because the enemies never force you to really rethink your approach. It is fun for a few hours and then it just stays exactly where it is. And that's the thing that really hurts the most when playing this game. It's never really bad. It just floats in this weird middle space. A beautiful idea, admittedly, a compelling world, but it all feels like the first act that never builds into a second. Performance issues, man, they do not help either, in all honesty. Like, I've lost count of how many times my freaking PC froze from just playing a linear story-driven game. That is insane that it happens so often. I have a good PC. I'd like to think so, at least. It made me think a lot about time. Not just in-game time or quest time, but real-life time. We're going in deep right now. If you work a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 in my part of the mundo, or have a family or any kind of daily obligations, your gaming time is just precious. You gotta choose carefully. So when a game like this asks for 20 hours of trust and never fully earns it, that stings just that little bit more. You want the time you use to matter. You want it to pay off, especially with RPGs in general. What you're left with here instead is a slow build to a plateau. You play waiting for something more to happen and then nothing more ever happens. You start to reflect on what actually made you play the game and keep going in the first place. It was an excitement for me, at least, broski. It was hope. I hoped the next area would shake things up, or a late game salutor would change how you approach combat, or that the story would twist and evolve into something sharper. And having completed the game, I am just filled to the brim, and I hope that's a real word, with frustration. Because the game, it has all the right cards in its hand, but it never really uses them. And it just ends up checking every go around before just getting your own money back. Really. And there's a haunting kind of stillness in that realization. Not disappointment exactly, more like a quiet acceptance. You're not mad, you're not even sad. You're just left staring at this strange, fascinating game that constantly gestures at greatness without ever grabbing it. And that's when it hit me. This game isn't broken. It's haunted by its own potential. And I think the hardest part of that is knowing how close this game actually comes to being great. A few deeper combat mechanics, a more dynamic use of salutors in general, a narrative risk or two would take it a really long way. A world that reacts just a little more to your presence. All the ingredients are there, but they just never quite mix. At the end of the day, the Thaumaturge is like a haunted theater production. The lighting is perfect, the costumes are stunning, the stage is set, but the actors forget their lines and the story really never goes anywhere. You stay in your seat because you can see what it wants to be, but as the curtain falls, you're left clapping politely instead of cheering. And this ultimately brings us back to the chickens, because I love that movie. And because the Thaumaturge looks like a game that should really fly. You see the determination here, you see the effort, the creativity, the ambition. You want it all to work together. You want to stand up and clap when it takes off, but it never does. It jumps, it falls over and over again, and it keeps flapping its wings without any real profit. The Thaumaturge admittedly is great in pieces, but those pieces never come together in a way that truly hits. It's a game you admire from a distance, but struggle to connect with up close and personal. A game that sings a haunting tune full of missed notes. It's a masterpiece of mediocrity. But ultimately, what the f do I know, man? I'm just a gamer on the internet who likes to share their thoughts or critique, if you will, of the Thaumaturge. So I do want to hear your comments in the comment section down below, my bro Chacho, man. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share. Do people share videos now? In any case, share it to at least one friend if you want to. I don't really know how to end this video, so I do hope you guys have a great day wherever you're from, whichever time of day you watch this at. Watch this video on screen next to get a load of RPG talk. And oh, I just said load. Man, enjoy the day, enjoy the week, enjoy all of that good stuff. Catch you guys in the next upload. Can't believe I said load. And keep on trucking, my dudes. Peace.